Have you ever wondered what happens behind the scenes on your event house inside Microsoft Fabric? What's the capacity size? When does it scale? And can I see more metadata of my total estate inside the event house? This is the video for you, so follow along and we will dive into the details in just a minute. Here I am in Microsoft Fabric, and I have created a KQL query set and attached this KQL query set to my event house. To show some metadata of this capacity, there are some commands that I can use. First of all, I need to know that every metadata command in the event house starts with a dot. After the dot, you will see that the IntelliSense tries to help you to list all the options that you have. The metadata discovery of the capacity and the databases and the tables and the schema lies in .show. After show, I have a different list of options I can choose from. If I want to, for instance, show the capacity, then I can execute this one. This gives me a list of the current capacities, capabilities, and or defined elements. I can see that I have ingestions. I have a total of 4. I have used 0, and I have 4 remaining. These numbers show me that I have a total capacity limit in the current setup of the capacity of 4 ingestions, 60 parallel queries, and 5 graph snapshots. I've consumed 0 of them. This also means that right now I'm not doing anything in this event house, but I have the options to use all of these. If, for instance, I want to do more than 4 ingestions at the same time, then automatically this capacity will upscale to the next level. This is being done by default behind the scenes, unless you have configured your event house to do otherwise. Let's dive a bit more into the capacity settings and the metadata discovery inside Microsoft Fabric. I can also do show cluster. This shows me the current cluster setup. Every time you work in event house, you have a cluster behind the scene. This cluster contains of 1 or more nodes, and each node has a specific size. Right now, I am on the smallest size of the capacity that I can get in Microsoft Fabric. I have only 1 node. This started just a few minutes ago. This node is the admin node because there's only 1. It has a total memory in this size, and let me just point this one out. It is a roughly 12.8 gigabytes. The available memory, so I'm already using some of it, is around 10 gigabytes. I have 6 processors that I can use. I can also do show cluster details. This gives me more or less the same results. I can also now see that I have all the data sizes, so the hot extent original size and the hot extent size. This is the size without compression, and this is the size with compression. If we dive into these extents, then we can get more information of the extents if I do a command show cluster extents. This is now showing me all the extents of this database, or sorry, of this cluster. And I can now see that each table has its own extent ID, and each table has a real size, extent size, compressed size, and other metrics that I can begin to discover. I can also see the row count, and I can also see when was the first element or metadata or row created in this table. If I want to see it in a more detailed way or in a JSON object way, I can just unfold each line of resource set, and then I get the JSON object to my right. By default, you might see it in line or below, but I just selected to see it on right, and then I can see all the details here. I can also, if I want to see all the schemas inside this cluster, I can just say, give me all the cluster schema. Now I get a list of all the schema, all the metadata from this database that I would expect in the SQL Server. The first row is the name of the database. It's called pretty name. This database is called TPCH. And I can also see the database name. The official name is this hashed, sorry, this GUID, of the database. So the pretty name that we normally work with is just a metadata name attached to the database. I also get the table names, and I can begin to see different options of the table. This is the raw table. So I see that this is the database name it is attached to. I can see the table name. And I can also see if this is a default table or default column. We can't change this in real-time intelligence in Microsoft Fabric, but these are metadata that I can discover. The next type of rows in the resource set I get are the columns of this table. So in table customer, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns with these data types. I have one double and the rest is string. And so forth and so forth. The beauty of this metadata discovery is that if I don't have access to some of the tables, I won't see them. Let me give you an example, because I can't do show cluster network. Cluster network is blocked on real-time intelligence because if I could see the cluster network, I can also begin to see what happens behind the scenes on the network inside Microsoft Fabric, and that might expose some settings and some default things that I should not see as an end user or as an admin of this event house, because I don't need to maintain the infrastructure behind the scenes. What I can also do is I can also do show cluster monitoring. The cluster monitoring returns some very interesting things here. If I expand this, then you can see I have a cluster account that's just called custo, and the alias is this one. Well, that might not mean anything to you, but if I zoom in just quite a bit, you will see that right here, I still have the Trident name in the cluster alias. If you don't know this is perhaps a public secret, then Trident was the internal project name of Microsoft Fabric before it was announced to the public. I can also see that I'm in the data center of Northern Europe. I can see I'm in the public cloud. And last but not least, I get this long string of cloud resource ID. If I had access to the Azure portal and as a Microsoft employee, this would be a Microsoft high-level administrator, I would be able to log into this resource ID directly from my Azure portal. If I copy this into my Azure portal right now, I'll just get a non-existing link because I can't access this link directly inside the Azure portal. If I go back to the show command, and then I can do show databases, then I get a list of databases in this event house. Right now, I only have one database. This is database name. And again, we have a pretty name here. And we have the database access mode. It's read-write. Interesting enough, we also have a link to the persistent storage. This is the link to the storage account inside Azure where the event house uses, which event house uses for the internal persistent storage of this event house. It's quite interesting that we can now begin to unravel a tiny bit of information about the network inside Microsoft Fabric for the event house using these show commands. So what can I use all of this for? Well, first of all, you could do the show cluster extents, and then you could do calculations on table storage, index sizes, and all the kinds and all those metrics to see if there is something about your database that you could optimize. Perhaps you could offload some of the line items from the table if you have too many line items and you only want to process the last 2 weeks of data. As you would see here, if I just zoom in just a tiny bit here, you will see that the line item table is actually a part of 4 extents. An extent is the physical storage on disk behind the scenes on the event house. And I can also see the original size and the extent size and the compressed size. So if you want to dive into the details of your real-time intelligence and your event house and begin to discover the metadata of your tables, your capacity, your networking, your monitoring, start by using the .show command. There's a lot of commands and metadata commands inside the event house. This is just the first dive into these metadata discovery queries. I hope you enjoyed this video, and remember to like and subscribe, and see you next time.